Hi, and welcome to our new video. This is the Braun Series 3. We have reviewed this shaver for you, and you'll find out everything you need to know in this video. So, just stay tuned. Let's get started with the Braun Series 3. Before we get to the practical test, we'll first give you an overview of the product in our Features and Technology section. The Series 3 is a foil shaver. This type of shaver is characterized by the rectangular blade block and the use of shaving foils to protect the skin. With the Braun Series 3 in particular, we have a shaving system with a total of 3 blades that can be moved independently of each other and thus adapt to the contours of the face. The scope of delivery also includes an attachable precision trimmer, which can be used for fine trimming or pre-trimming. Compared to other shavers on the market, the battery's performance is unfortunately quite poor. 30 minutes of shaving time is available on a full charge. It then takes twice as long, in other words, 60 minutes, to fully recharge the battery. If you're running low, the shaver has a quick charge function. This means you can charge for 5 minutes and still get enough power to complete a short shaving cycle. Unfortunately, you can only track the battery status to a limited extent, as there's only a rudimentary status indicator: battery empty, battery full, and battery charging. That's all you can expect here. What the Series 3 does offer, though, is its mains operation. This means that the shaver will work even when it is in charging mode. What is unfortunately missing, however, is a key lock. This would certainly have been desirable, but from our point of view, it is still acceptable in this price range. As far as the scope of delivery is concerned, we have quite a lot included, considering the price range. In addition to the power adapter and protective cap, the aforementioned precision trimmer attachment and a total of 5 additional comb attachments with cutting lengths from 1 to 7 millimeters are also included. There is also a simple travel bag. The only strange thing is that the shaver doesn't fit in it at all. The bag is probably intended for the accessories. The shaver is also available in different versions, of course. We opted for the 3-in-1 version, which means shaving, trimming, and contouring. Accordingly, the emphasis here is more on dry shaving. Unfortunately, the device cannot be used for wet shaving. However, if this is important to you, you can simply opt for the blue version. This can then also be used while wet shaving, and if you wish, even in the shower. By the way, you can find all the links in the description below the video. You will find the product there as well, of course. So, let's get into detail now. We took a closer look at the shaver. There's nothing to complain about in terms of workmanship. All parts fit neatly together and make a well-made impression. With Braun shavers in particular, you can even say that the products look a little more robust or sturdier than the rotary shavers from Philips, for example. Otherwise, the Series 3 has an ergonomic design with a handle designed for dry use. This is enough to ensure that the shaver sits comfortably and securely in the hand and doesn't slip away while working. However, the whole thing needs to be put into perspective. Compared to the Series 5, for example, the shaver does seem a bit clunky. In terms of handling, there's still a little room for improvement, but considering the low price, it's definitely still okay. In terms of operation and handling, the shaver benefits from the fact that the blades are movable. This means that it generally follows the contours of the face well. This is not necessarily a fundamental advantage of foil shavers. In our opinion, rotary shavers adapt a little better to angled areas, such as the chin. Nevertheless, the Series 3 performed well thanks to its design and also plays to the strengths of the foil shavers, meaning that you can shave particularly well on the sideburns or under the nose. Only the shaver head could have been movable in our opinion. This would have made the shave a little more smooth. Basically, however, this is still okay considering the price range. Another advantage of Braun shavers is their ease of use. Unlike rotary shavers, you don't have to get used to a special shaving technique. Instead, you can more or less just shave away. You just need to stretch the skin a little and work against the direction of growth if possible. There's not much else to consider when using it. Everything works simply and intuitively. The precision trimmer is a useful extra in the daily routine. In our opinion, it also does its job very well. It is a pity that the trimmer does not fold out, as is the case with most Philips appliances, for example. That would definitely have been more convenient. Nevertheless, the attachment system itself is fine. You can change the attachment relatively easy and quickly. If you also use the comb attachment supplied, you can turn the shaver into a beard trimmer if you wish. This also works well in itself. It has to be said that a beard trimmer specially produced for this application performs better still, but as an all-in-one variant, it's pretty decent in the end. Apart from that, we can say that the Series 3 is generally comfortable to work with. At 173 grams, it is one of the lightest devices in our test. The vibration in the handpiece can be felt as a tingling sensation in the fingers after prolonged use, but is still okay. The blades get lukewarm to warm on the skin after 2 to 2.5 minutes of shaving, which can still be described as pleasant in the end. Sadly, the shaver is one of the loudest devices in our test with a noise level of around 67 decibels. The noise could also be more pleasant. Although the shaver sounds much richer or full-bodied than the rather high-pitched Philips devices, it still seems rather coarse compared to the other Braun series. And now let's see what our colleague Chris has to say. He put the Series 3 to the test for us in everyday use and gathered a lot of experience in the process. Yes, I've been testing dozens of different razors for weeks now and came to one important conclusion. And this basically applies to all the razors I've tested. Namely, don't believe the advertising. The advertising suggests that you basically go over it once and all the hair is gone. This is simply not the case, regardless of whether you have a razor for 50 or one for several $100. So what exactly does that mean? Basically, there are differences between the individual razors in the sense of one shaves a little better and the other shaves a little worse. But they all have the same basic problem. That is, that they do shave. But in certain places, such as the neck, a few hair may remain. I would therefore recommend, and this applies to all devices, shave at relatively short intervals. In other words, every day, or at least every 2 days. And if you can't or don't want to do this, then pre-trim your beard at least once, and then just do the finishing touches with the razor. So let's get down to the Braun Series 3, and I'll go through the points with you. First point, the blade feels super comfortable on the skin. You can definitely say that, although you have to put the whole thing into perspective a little. I think the Philips devices do it a bit better. Nevertheless, you can definitely be satisfied here. Second point, and as you can already see, there are no large structures or anything around the blade. This ensures that I can actually see where I'm shaving while standing in front of the mirror. And that's an advantage, of course. The third point is the feeling of safety, which I think is very good with this device. At no time did I have the feeling that I could cut myself with it. And there was no tugging either, so there's nothing to complain about. As far as skin irritation is concerned, however, you do have to make a few compromises. Don't get me wrong, this appliance is still pretty good, that's not what I meant. But Philips appliances seem to do it a bit better still. With the Series 3, there's definitely still some room for improvement. As far as the shaving result is concerned, the whole thing looks different again. And if we make a direct comparison between the Braun Series 3 and its Philips counterpart, the Series 3000, then we can see that this one actually performs a little better when it comes to shaving. And as a reminder, you can find the link to the product in the description below the video. And if the video was helpful to you, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. To ensure that the shaver can do its job for as long as possible, it is of course important to clean it regularly. To do this, simply pull off the shaving element and then carefully tap it out. You can then put the shaving element back on and rinse it under running water while the appliance is running. Basically, this is all easy and no problem. Let's move on to the blades, and as it's often the case with blades, they will eventually become blunt. The manufacturer therefore recommends changing the blade system every 18 months. Unfortunately, you won't find a replacement indicator or anything similar in this price range. Let's come to the conclusion. With the Braun Series 3, you get a shaver in the affordable price range that does justice to this classification in most regards. A key lock, a better battery performance, and a slightly lower volume would have been nice. But in this price range, we think that it's still acceptable. The device feels comfortable on the skin and it is easy to see where you are working with it. In addition, the shaving result and skin irritations are, in our opinion, okay for its price point. The core function of the device itself could definitely convince us in the end. So if you are looking for a standard shaver without a lot of bells and whistles that is affordable and gets the job done, you can go for the Braun Series 3. So we checked out this shaver for you. If you are interested in the product, take a look at the description below the video. You'll find all the links there. Otherwise, stay tuned. Our Endcard will provide a few interesting suggestions for you.